Hello everyone, this is Jonathan Little for PokerNews.com, and, well, we have pocket queens again. It seems like I get pocket queens every other hand here at PokerNews.com. Occasionally, people ask me, why do you only show the hands where you play good cards? Well, I tend to only play good cards. That's just good, fundamentally sound poker. Of course, you've seen me with some garbage hands from time to time, but most of the time, when you end up playing multi-street poker, it's because you either make a good hand with some sort of a straight flushy type hand, or you just start off with a good hand and it stays good. So don't think you need to be playing garbage. You don't need to be raising king 7 suited from early position or 9-8 offsuit from middle position. These are all garbage and should be folded. Sorry to burst your bubble. All right, pocket queens. We're facing a raise and a call. I'm almost always going to 3-bet here to maybe 2,000 or so, maybe a little bit bigger, given we're deep stacked. The only time I'm going to be calling is when I expect someone yet to act to be overly aggressive, but I have no way of knowing that here. So I'm probably going to make it 2,000 or so. I go a little bit small though, and I don't like this size. I would definitely prefer a bigger 3-bet to about 2,000. When you make it 1,500 or 1,600, you're going to get called by everyone, and that's fine. Don't get me wrong. It's perfectly fine to get called by everyone. But when you do get called by everyone, you must be significantly more cautious after the flop because you're going to be way more likely to be against some sort of a set or 2-pair or whatnot. If you get it heads up, you can just be way more inclined to sort of blindly stack off. That said, if I made it 2,000, it's not like the pot's going to be that much bigger pre-flop, so maybe that's negligible to some extent. What it really does amount to, though, is that pre-flop, if you have a sizable edge, you want to get more money in the pot. So how do you get more money in the pot? You make it a little bit bigger. So anyway, we do get called by 3 people, including the small blind. Flop comes 9-3-2. We realistically only lose to 9s, 3s, and 2s. We may not even lose to 3s and 2s because some people don't raise those and some people don't call 3-bets with those. That is definitely worth mentioning. So now take a look at the stacks. Stacks are 13K in the small blind, 23K or 21K for everyone else. That is my effective stack. Remember, you can only lose the amount you have in front of you. So if these guys had 1,000,000 chips, it wouldn't matter. They only have 21K for my purposes. Obviously, they may have to be cautious against each other, but that doesn't matter so much. So what should we do? Well, we should definitely bet here. We're betting purely for value. We want to make sure we bet an amount that gives our opponents plenty of room to shove all in as a bluff or a semi-bluff. We don't want to just go all in ourselves. Like say I just open shove all in. A lot of people think, oh, I really don't want to get outdrawn. How do I not get outdrawn? Well, I just go all in. The problem with going all in though, or even betting 7,000, is that if someone decides to go all in then, well, we're going to be in very bad shape with our queens. I discussed this in one of my previous videos for Poker News. I think it was 3 or 4 videos ago. Definitely go back and watch this, where I discuss as you bet smaller, you will make your opponent stick around with a weaker range. As you bet bigger, you're often going to make them stick around with a stronger range. And if you let them stick around with a wider range, that should make me less inclined to fold my big hands like pocket queens. But if I bet 7,000 here and someone shoves, queens are still just going to be a call, but they're way worse of a call than if I bet like 3,000 and someone shoves. So anyway, let's see what we do. I do go 2,000, really small. I like this. I would maybe actually prefer a little bit bigger. Notice this sets up stacks to get in against a small blind fine. He only has 13,000 left, so he can very easily make a 7 times my bet shove. You'll usually find that's sort of the sweet spot. About 7, between 5 and 7 to 8 times whatever your opponent's betting. If you can shove for that amount, you usually have a pretty good amount of fold equity, assuming the pot's not gigantic, which it kind of is here. But against these other 2 players, notice that if they shove, it has to be quite a large shove. It'll be about 10 times my bet. So I would rather typically be more concerned with these 2 players, just because there's 2 of those and 1 player over here with 13,000 stacks. So I think if I bet 3,000 on the flop, that's going to induce the other 2 players to shove. Whereas if I bet 2,000, it may induce them to call with stuff like pocket 10s or pocket 6s. Whereas if I bet bigger, maybe they decide to do something ridiculous and shove. So I think I prefer a slightly bigger bet. It may sound like I'm being really nitpicky here, and I am. That is my job as a poker coach, to try to find the best play. And I think a lot of people, especially if they come from limit games, get in their mind that either you bet or you check. And that's kind of right. You either bet or you check. But when you bet, you have to pick the amount you are betting, and it is important. Like right here, I would say 2,600 or 3,000 is way better than 2,000. And 3,000 or 2,600 is way better than 6,000. 6,000 would be bad, like just a straight up bad bet. So anyway, I have to be critical of myself so I'm not making slight mistakes in the future. So anyway, 2,000 is what I do. Small blind goes all in. That is great. I say that's great. Put yourself in my shoes here. You re-raise pre-flop, get 3 callers, 1 from the small blind who had no money in the pot. Flop comes 9-3-2. They check to you. You bet small. Small blind goes all in. Are you happy to call it off here? Or is it like, I guess I got to call? Or maybe you even fold because you're worried about being against those sets. While you could be against those sets, it's always important to try to count the combinations of hands you lose to, right? We lose to 9 sets, 3 of each. 3 pocket 9s, 3 pocket 3s, 3 pocket 2s. But we beat pocket jacks and pocket 10s. There's 6 of those each, right? So now all of a sudden we have 12 hands we beat, 9 we lose to. We also beat all the flush draws or slightly flipping against them. I don't know how many combinations of those there are, but I'm sure you could take your time and figure it out. There's ace king of diamonds, ace queen of diamonds, ace jack of diamonds, ace 10 of diamonds, king queen of diamonds, king jack of diamonds. As you see, there's a bunch. There's like 15 or 20. So a bunch of diamond draws. Maybe the opponent overvalues 8, 7, 6s, 5s, 4s. Maybe the opponent has ace 3 or ace 2 suited. Again, I don't know what this guy's doing because he's calling from the small blind facing a 3-bet. Maybe his range is just aces and kings and he's trapping me. I don't know. The gist of it is, though, that this is a very, very easy call. If you're folding in this spot, you are folding way, way, way too often. Yes, sometimes we're going to be beat, but more often than not, we have a very, very easy call for 11,000 more into a pot that's going to be 33. We only need to win 33% of the time, and we're probably going to win like 70% of the time in this spot. Maybe 60%. So anyway, 60 is way more than 33, so we have a very, very easy call. If I was making a pokercoaching.com quiz right now, I would give call 10 points, perfect score. Fold, 0. 0 points for fold. Don't fold. We're against pocket 8s, one of those hands that is drastically overvaluing. This is a hand that should just fold pre-flop, by the way. This is a very clear example. I mean, I discussed this at the top of this video. Don't play bad hands. When it goes raise, call, 3-bet, fold, or maybe go all in with your pocket 8s. But do not cold call out of position because this kind of thing happens, right? He flops a marginal made hand and decides to take his marginal made hand against everyone at the table. Remember, it went check, check, check. I bet. This guy shoved. These two guys still could have both had their sets or their overpairs, right? They didn't this time, but they could have. So yeah, this is a fun hand. That's going to be it for today. Hope you enjoyed this. If you liked it, let the people over at Poker News know. Let them know that you enjoy their work. They do a lot of great work over there. And I'll see you next week. Good luck in your games. Be nice to each other.